Welcome to Capital City News, your source for staying informed and engaged with Salt Lake City government. I'm your host, Brian Young, reporting in from Library Square. Our interview today is with Sophia Nicholas, the Deputy Director of Salt Lake City's Sustainability Department. And since Halloween season's in full swing, our History Minute is about the cult slasher film Silent Night, Deadly Night. But before the fun begins, it's time for our legislative update. Then we'll take a look back and a look ahead.
At its September 21st meeting, the City Council received an update from Police Chief Brown about vacancies in the police department, received an update on the city's equity study, and received updates about other issues in the city, including on the COVID-19 pandemic, homelessness, and issues about racial equity in policing. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council. Thanks to the voter-approved Funding Our Future bond, the city has been able to launch a new alleyway rejuvenation project. This will allow the city to improve and reimagine some of these important spaces in the city. The $200,000 pilot project began with an alleyway in Liberty Wells, and more alleys will be identified over the course of the project. Last month, the new SLC Airport celebrated its first year of operation in the first phase of the new terminal system. A celebration was held to commemorate the anniversary, and an award for the airport's sustainability was bestowed to those present. Mayor Mendenhall announced a continuation of the pause of new trail construction in our foothills system, in order to work with environmental consultants to ensure those considerations are made as we build new trails. Salt Lake City is still experiencing a significant drought. Do what you can to reduce your own water usage, and don't hesitate to reach out to Salt Lake City and report issues of water overusage. With your help, we'll be able to make water a lasting commodity for our community. Learn more about water conservation at slc.gov/utilities/conservation. The Centers for Disease Control have announced new guidelines for vaccine boosters. Everyone should get vaccinated, but if you've received the Pfizer vaccine and are within certain groups, you should look to receive your third dose if you're 6 months past your second dose. These include folks over the age of 65 years old and long-term care residents, folks 18 to 64 with underlying medical conditions, and anyone who works in an environment that has an increased exposure to COVID. But most importantly, get your first dose. For information on where to get your vaccine, visit the county vaccination website.
Road construction continues in Salt Lake City, and for our update this week, we're going to take a look at the 300 West Beautification Project, as well as our work improving bus shelters across the city.
Construction has started on 300 West in the area from North Temple to 1000 North. This SLC redevelopment agency project is in the second phase for the area and will add curb extensions at 7 intersections and 1 crossing near West High School, pedestrian crossing signals at 400 North and Reed Avenue, and a new park strip and other landscaping improvements to the north near Warm Springs Park. The project will also include Utah Transit Authority planned bus stop relocations and improvements that will greatly increase comfort and accessibility for transit users. Learn more at www.slc.gov/mystreet. Salt Lake City, also in partnership with UTA, is making improvements to other bus stops across the city. The purpose of the improvements is to make the bus stops accessible to all riders. Improvements will vary by stop, but may include the addition of shelters, benches, trash cans, bike racks, and lighting. Along with stop improvements, there may also be some stop consolidation to improve the efficiency of the bus routes. Some of the improved bus stops will also serve new routes in the coming years. This work has started on South Temple. Learn more at www.slc.gov/transit.
To keep up with these and other Funding Our Future bond projects in Salt Lake City, make sure you visit slc.gov/bondmap. And our interview is with Sophia Nicholas, Salt Lake City's Deputy Director of the Sustainability Department.
Yeah, so we just had the 5th annual Utah Climate Week. Salt Lake City is one of the original founders of Climate Week, and it's fantastic that we've now made it to 5 years of hosting this incredible event. This year we had 50 organizations and 20 events all across Utah, really calling attention to the ways that climate is uniquely impacting our state, as well as all of the many ways that we're taking action to help tackle the crisis. So in particular with Salt Lake City, what we're seeing with climate change, with the predictions, and I feel like especially this year we've really felt it a lot more than in previous years, but we are definitely seeing drought, lower rainfall, less snowpack. When we do get rain, it's coming in those intense storms that are challenging for our infrastructure. We're also seeing a lot more air pollution in the summer, so we're seeing that high ozone, that wildfire smoke from across the region. We're also experiencing just heat, and that's a big problem for a lot of people in our community who are either working outside, spending more time outside, or have other ailments that make the heat really challenging. So these are all of the reasons that Salt Lake City is taking action on climate. As a local government, we are the first responder when it comes to all sorts of things, but that doesn't change with climate change. And so this is why we're calling attention to the problem and why we're doing so much within our local communities and within local government to try to make a difference. Salt Lake City is working on climate change on a number of different fronts. The biggest is really with our community renewable energy program. We're working in the next few years to transition to net 100% clean electricity for our entire community, which is very exciting. We're also working on the transportation front to help people get out of cars, to walk more, drive less. We're planting trees, and we're doing all sorts of things to really reduce emissions, both from our municipal government and to help the community as a whole do that. Please visit our website at slcgreen.com, and you can learn more about the Utah Climate Action Network at utahclimatenetwork.com.
It's time again for the History Minute. Silent Night, Deadly Night was filmed in Salt Lake City and other parts around Utah in the winter of 1983. Filming under the title Sleigh Ride, it shot for a budget of about $750,000. In the early 80s, slasher films could be made quick and cheap and sold to big-name distribution houses for small releases on screen and huge video sales and rentals to be the next cult horror flick. This Yuletide slasher filmed around the city, most notably casting Westminster College as a mental asylum. The film followed a department store Santa Claus who'd witnessed his own parents murdered by a Santa as a child. After a lifetime of growing up in an orphanage and finding himself dressed as their killers, he snaps, taking Santa Claus on a killing spree. The film would have probably never made a dent in the public consciousness if it hadn't been boycotted and deemed offensive by organizations like the Catholic Conference. Parents picketed the film for casting a beloved character like Santa Claus as an axe murderer. Even the poster scared children. The film was released the same weekend as the original Nightmare on Elm Street film and beat it at the box office. Unfortunately, because of the controversy, it was pulled from theaters and only became a cult hit in subsequent video releases. That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Remember, the best way to stay informed is to stay engaged. You can do that by following us on social media at SLCGov, subscribing to us on YouTube, and watching us on Channel 17. So, reporting in from Library Square, until next week, I'm Brian Young.